Hey guys, what's going on? So I had two nightmares just both days back to back, and you know, it was about vaccines, and I'm gonna call vaccines the devil's prick, okay? Because that's what it is, the devil's prick. So yesterday when I did the call-in show, I had a caller. I think his name was Christian. If it's not Christian, please forgive me. But I think that's what his name was, and he was talking about how we need to get rid of lobbying, which I totally agree with, and that it's technically legal bribery. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna start calling lobbying legal bribery. I think that's perfect, right? I'm gonna call abortion killing your baby, and I'm gonna call contact tracing the Gestapo. My friend and I, we already do that all behind the scenes. We're just like, yeah, the Gestapo, we just call it the Gestapo. And then the vaccines now is gonna be called the devil's prick, okay? So first dream I had, it was crazy. So I dreamed that people were getting the vaccine, and some people were and some people weren't. And then I had a friend that got the vaccine, but he was normal at first, right? And he came over to visit, and he's like, hey, Virstyne, did you get the vaccine? And I was like, hell no. I'm like, I love it. I'm even anti-vaccine in my dreams. It's great. So then all of a sudden, the 5G, like somebody turned the 5G on, and all of a sudden his eyes turned black. So everybody that got the vaccine in the dream, they were easily controlled by 5G and their eyes turned black. And then they turned to like zombies. So that was one flipping nightmare. And then another nightmare, it sounds silly, but it was still scary as hell. And I actually woke up earlier today. I couldn't go back to sleep. But it was, again, it was about the vaccines, and the military was giving the vaccines out and stuff. And they weren't forcing people, they weren't breaking into people's, well, they were escorting people outside to get the vaccine. And then the people that got the vaccine, they turned into orcs, like from Lord of the Rings, those like rings, those like crazy, gross creatures, they turned into orcs. But they were walking around like they weren't like, rah, rah, because I don't think the orcs talked in Lord of the Rings, but they were talking just like people, but they looked like orcs. And they're just like, no, I feel better than ever. And I'm like, ugh, like I still was not about taking the vaccines. So I packed up my shit, and then I had this big ass, like one of those, what do you call those, travel backpacks, and I had to pack up my stuff, and then I'm just like running down the road, and I don't know where I woke up after that. I don't know what happened after that. So I don't know if they caught me. I don't know if, you know, I got the vaccine. I don't know, but it still was as silly and far-fetched as the dream sound. I think there's some truth to it. Now, I'm not saying that people are literally going to turn into zombies and literally going to turn into orcs, but they are. Like, not, you know, physically, but this vaccine that they're developing is revolutionary. And I'm telling you right now, and according to them, right, that it's unlike any other vaccine we've ever created. And when, you know, Bill Gates talks about it, he's like orgasmic, right? He's just like, oh, the vaccines. I'm like, why do I need a sign language interpreter when I fucking look at Bill Gates talk? His hands are just like, blah, 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 oh, the vaccine. So, yeah, I mean, regular vaccines alter your DNA, which if you look up this lady named Theresa Deisher, who is basically one of the world-renowned scientists that works with stem cells, she basically discovered this, right? But slowly, right? But this vaccine is supposed to, or people are saying, the hearsay is, I'll say it like that it alters your DNA immediately, and maybe even changes your personality. If you've ever seen a presentation a long time ago, I don't know if I can find this one to put in the links, but there was this guy that was presenting a lecture on Vax, and he was talking about how they wanted to create a vaccine to subdue people that were religious fundamentalists. And that's why he called it Vax. And basically, he was saying that when they're injected, it like shuts off a part of the brain that makes them, you know, very passionate and stuff. I was just like, yep, you know. And then I've seen articles on these smart vaccines, and I think this is what they're trying to make the corona vaccine with, like the nanotechnology and it's supposed to work with your system. I'm like, no, that's the devil's prick. They're all the devil's prick, but this is the devil's prick. I'm not even playing around. And I was in a comment section the other day, and there was this lady that was like, well, I'll take the American vaccines, but I won't trust the Russian vaccines. I was like, I won't trust any vaccine. How stupid are you to can't you see this whole anti-vax movement is worldwide. They've been standing up in Africa. They've been killing healthcare workers in some African countries because their children have been getting maimed. So people are figuring out what's going on, and they're killing the healthcare workers. And the healthcare workers are just brainwashed and thinking that they're doing a good thing. Oh, I'm going to go to this third world country and give people vaccines. Meanwhile, they're killing children by doing it. Right? This is how they compartmentalize things, and they get their evil work done because they brainwash people into thinking that they're doing good, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. James Corbett just did a really good video on this and talking about how the Gates Foundation has been kicked out of India and maybe even parts of Africa. I know India for sure. Because of their vaccine program has maimed and murdered like hundreds and thousands of children. So it was funny because I'll find the link where he puts a response in. He gets this caller or this person that writes to him. It was like, oh, I used to really have faith in your channel, but then I saw that you did that piece on Bill Gates, and that was debunked. And I would still really like to watch your channel, but I don't know if I can because. And he was like, dude, he ripped that dude up. It was awesome, very classy. But basically, it was debunked by one of these fake ass fact checkers that didn't even do research, and he basically goes through and he shows the documentation that he got from India to show that this was happening. This is a real occurrence. So it's not being reported on the mainstream media. Ironically, there are people that have such an appeal to authority complex that they want the mainstream media to tell them the truth. They're never going to learn the truth if they're waiting for the mainstream media. That's never going to happen because you're asking the main people that are part of the corruption to tell you the truth. You're asking criminals to tattle on themselves, and why would they do that? So, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't come to that, but I would rather die than take that damn vaccine. I'm not doing it. I work too hard on my health. I don't trust them. This is, like I was talking about, if you guys can get the book Dissolving Illusions, you can get it on Kindle, by the way. I forgot. It's on Kindle as well. But every single vaccine, all the histories, she goes through all of that in her book, or both of them. I always say it's written by two people, but I follow one of the doctors. So it's written by a doctor and a computer scientist. And I swear, I could be doing promotions for them, but I love her so much. I think her work is impeccable. And I think she's doing a great service to humanity. But the other guy's named Roman Bystrionic, and he's a computer scientist. And with the data that they compiled, they were able to make graphs showing that basically vaccines aren't shit. And they also have this historical documentation to back it up. But they go through all the vaccines. They go through smallpox vaccine, same process where, the documentation was just erased from history, showing that actually vaccines cause more injuries, more people to get smallpox. Same thing with polio. Same thing with, they tried to develop a scarlet fever vaccine, and it was like people were dropping dead or getting sick right away. Because a lot of times with the vaccines, you'll get injected and you'll be like, oh, I feel fine. And maybe a few days later, you get fucked up, or a few years later, a few decades later, you get cancer or something. So then it's easier to write off. But right away, people were just dropping down. So they were like, oops. And they never did a widespread, vaccine for scarlet fever. But yet that went away. That, sanitation and nutrition. Right, and same thing, there was never a vaccine for cholera or typhoid. Those diseases went away. So, there's just a lot that you're not being told about vaccines. And then last year, it was the end of last year, beginning of this year, Britain paid out £60 million to people that took the H1N1 vaccine that got damaged from the H1N1 vaccine. So I know that there are two people that were already involved with the Moderna vaccine. They resigned. So, it looks like they have a conscience. Why, if this vaccine is so great, why are people resigning? Why are people having to be coerced into getting it? When is that ever a good idea to coerce someone into getting something, right? It's so good. You have to threaten people with not being able to work or fly with getting it, right? And they put anti-vaxxers on the global threat list, but yet they still keep growing, right? They have a surveillance system now with a company called Project Vector that's set to track anti-vaxxers and try to figure out how to stop the movement from growing. I'm like, dumbasses. I'm like, these scientists aren't as smart as they think they are. It's so fucking obvious. Stop making vaccines. They don't understand. They believe they eat their own bullshit so much that they can't even fathom that people would dare criticize the miracles of vaccination. And it's because a lot of people are getting butchered and maimed, and families and generations are being destroyed by them all over the world. So, but they have these meetings, right, that they record that you can watch. Like the WHO had a meeting last year talking about anti-vaxxers are converting people 500 to 1, meaning what, for every person that staunchly goes pro-vax, 500 people go staunchly anti-vax. And they're just like, we don't know what to do. And in that meeting, which is great, this is great news, they're saying that healthcare officials actually are actually among those people. So officials, the healthcare officials, meaning doctors and nurses and people in the medical industry. Because doctors aren't taught about vaccines in school. They're just taught that they're a miracle and that you should give them, and if you don't give them, you're stupid and you deserve to die. That's all they're taught. They're not taught about the ingredients. They're not taught about, the vaccine injury court. They're not taught about pharmaceutical industries don't have liability. They're not taught about the studies, which they only study 2 vaccines, and they never use a placebo. They always tested it against another vaccine. They don't talk about in the unofficial studies, the anti-vaccine people, the unvaccinated people and animals are always like millions of times healthier than the vaccinated individuals. They never talk about that, right? So they never talk about we've only had vaccines for 200 years, yet we've been on, or 200,000 years, and we've survived all these decades, these millennia without vaccines. They don't talk about that, right? They don't talk about Alfred Russel Wallace, who was a co-founder of natural discovery. The natural selection, was a huge anti-vaccinationist. They don't talk about that. They don't want you to know. You didn't know that, but you didn't know that. But some of you know it because I've said it before. But when I drop these links, y'all gonna be like, damn. And one of these links that talks about Alfred Russel Wallace is from the CDC. But no, they just erased him out of history. Nobody even knew that there's a co-discoverer of natural selection. They just know Charles Darwin. And I'm pretty sure that they don't talk about him because people would start to see, especially nowadays, because people would start to see his involvement in the anti-vaccination movement. And back then, and by the way, it didn't just start with Andrew Wakefield and Jenny McCarthy. There's been an anti-vaccination movement since the beginning of the vaccine, okay? So all these things that they just want you to know, and then, again, anybody that gets hurt from this, I think the 2 people that are in the running right now are Moderna and AstraZeneca, and they're not going to get liability. They're not going to be liable if anybody gets hurt. So why are, who is, this better be your line, y'all, especially my subscribers. This better be your fucking line. If you're going to be coerced into taking this vaccines, what is more important, your health or you can always get another job, but if your health is messed up, where is that going to leave you in life? How are you going to take care of your kids? How are you going to do the things you want to do, right? If you're brain damaged or you're paralyzed or you're crippled or you're cyborg, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to know because I'll just watch. I'm not going to be in line to take the devil's prick, okay? Heart-wrenching. I had a lady write me a while ago, and she was saying that her son was vaccine injured, and vaccine injury takes a huge toll on the family. It's not only the parents feel guilty, and a lot of drug abuse because they're trying to cover up that guilt. A lot of alcoholism incurs, a lot of antidepressant use incurs because the family is trying, emotionally distraught. There's a study that shows autism moms have the same trauma points in the brain as military people that have been in war. Okay, so that happens. The siblings have resentment. And then usually the other siblings are neglected because a vaccine injured child needs more attention than the other children. generations are destroyed. You think these people that are severely injured are going to have children? Like, if it's your only child, are they going to have grandchildren? Is your bloodline's just done, right? So anyway, so this lady wrote to me and she was like, yeah, my son is vaccine injured, and financially it's a burden. That's where I was going. It's a financial burden, because a lot of them need a lot of medical treatments and therapies and stuff like that, whether it's physical therapies because they can't walk well or they can't think well, or like, you know, rapid prompt training, or, you know, other therapies, whatever, you know, is needed. And then she was like, well, I had to go back to work. I had to go back to work. My husband was already working because it was such a financial toll. I had to go back to work to support the family. And then her job required her to get a vaccine to go back to work, and then she got vaccine injured. Now she's crippled, okay? So it's, I just, every time I hear that, I want to scream, I want to punch somebody. This is why I'm so adamant. You guys wake up, think. There's another guy named if you're listening to this, would you please email me? I have something for you, info@truthortalk.com. Sorry, please. The aspiring doctor I spoke to yesterday, I meant to ask you to, and I was like, I should have told him. Anyway, so, you know, I know I can come off as an arrogant bitch, but I've spent so much time studying this. I have personal experience. I know now I have a lot of vaccine injured friends and family as a result of this. And this is something that is really hard to fix. If you can fix it, I think there's hope, but at the same time, nobody wants that. I wouldn't wish it on my fiercest enemy. I'd wish it on Bill Gates, maybe, okay? Because he knows that this is happening to people and he doesn't give a fuck. But, you know, I wish it on the people that knows this is happening to people and putting on people, and the psychopathic maniacs, I wish it on them, okay? But anybody else, I mean, it's like, it's the most horrible thing ever. It's really hard to listen to people's stories. If you have a heart, if you know, like, I mean, it's just, it's gut wrenching. And I don't want to see any more people injured. That's it. I want to help people, and I don't want to see any more people injured with the devil's prick. So where are you at? Are you still going to take the vaccine? Let me know, because, you know, for a fake ass virus. By the way, why are they pushing a vaccine with a 98% survival rate? And people know that they're fudging the numbers, they're exchanging other illnesses and saying that these people have COVID. The virus hasn't been isolated yet, but they're still pushing a vaccine. And I'm not talking for the people that refuse to look at this information. I'm talking about the people that already know that this is a hoax and this is bullshit. You have to think about why, well, like, something sinister, really, really, really sinister is going on if they're trying to push this vaccine on people, right? That most people don't even want. I think the last poll that was taken, it said 50% of people don't want to take the vaccine, and they're actually doing studies and trials to figure out how to get people to take the vaccine, okay? I mean, they start coming into people's homes. This is why we have our guns, man. It's gonna be war. It's gonna be fucking on. I'm telling you, it's gonna be fucking on. All right, guys, that's it. I'm gonna leave my links in the bottom. I will talk to you later. Peace, truth, love. Bye bye. Mwah.